Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of the Indie Hangout Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Pneumatics. You can find me over on YouTube, or you can go ahead and find me over on Twitch. Just add an extra X at the end, and you should be able to find me just fine streaming every now and then over there. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Kronos. What's up, dude?
How's it going? My name's Kronos. You can find me on YouTube and Twitch at OSOK Kronos. We stream, a couple nights a week and have some fun. How about you, Maz?
What's going on, guys? Maz from MazTech Gaming. Find me over on YouTube and Twitch, MazTech Gaming. We do shorts and streams. That's about it.
Oh, yeah. Lots of content for you guys. Go ahead and join any one of us anytime. Jump in, talk with us, talk about the podcast. We'll have a great time. So the other thing you could do is join us and talk with us over on our Discord. Be sure to go ahead and join our Discord. We will leave the link to it in the show notes down below. The reason why you should join it, though, is really not just because you can talk with us, but also because you can go ahead and join us on the polls over there. You can also go to our X account, Indie_Hangout, to get the polls on there if you don't want to join the Discord, which I don't know why you wouldn't. And then you can also go and ask us questions that we will pull out of our mailbag that's over on the Discord as well, that we'll go ahead and read off to you guys at the end of every episode. So a lot of good stuff. Think you guys should really join it. We'd have a lot of fun over there. We've already had a lot of fun with having people jump in on the discussion so far. All right, so main topic of the day, fellas, is shadow drops. So we had a really big one lately, and that was coming straight from Bethesda. They dropped Oblivion, April 22nd, seemingly out of nowhere. So what do you guys think about this so far? Maz, I think I've seen you play a few times. I don't think I've seen Kronos play any at all yet.
It's pretty badass. I mean, if you played it back in 2006 when it originally dropped, it's pretty much the same game. It's reskinned. I think they streamlined a little bit like of the leveling and whatnot to make it a little bit easier for those mainstream players, the ones that are trying to get into RPGs and whatnot. But it's been a nice little surprise. They've been teasing this for a while now. And Virtuous, who is the actual developer for this, believe it or not, was not owned or controlled by Bethesda or Microsoft or anything like that, given the task of reskinning Oblivion. And I think they did a fantastic job. I'm only a few hours in, so I haven't really dug into it a lot. Of course, you get your typical bugs here and there, but really, really good game so far. It's been really fun, very nostalgic. It's got some old RPG mechanics from earlier RPG games, which makes it a little bit nostalgic, like I had mentioned here. Lots of fun, though. And a nice surprise. They've been talking about it for a long time. Rumors were that it was going to drop on April 11th, and then on April 1st, out of the blue. I mean, they were talking about confirming it here and there, leaking videos, but 21st on X dropping, hey, join us on Twitch on our channel, 11 o'clock Eastern time on the 22nd, and boom, look what we got. We got ourselves a ball game.
So, personally, I've never played it. I've seen it. I remember all the hype about it back when it originally came out, so I can only imagine that a remake by Bethesda is going to be just as good. I might actually give it a shot.
Definitely recommended, Kronos, because I'll tell you right now, there was Skyrim, and when that came out, that kind of got people away from Oblivion. But Oblivion is a classic, and I would definitely give that an opportunity for sure. And you guys can get it on Game Pass.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely trying that out then. I got Game Pass.
There you go.
It's funny enough, I had my uncle call me saying, hey, you see Oblivion dropped? I go, yeah. He goes, you need to play it. It's on Game Pass. It's free. Free is free. You need to try it. I'm like, yeah, I know. You guys know, I've been stuck on this Final Fantasy grind, and nothing's really tearing me away from it. But watching you play, Maz, I was like, man, maybe I should download it and just dig in for a little bit, because
definitely recommended.
It looks very similar to Skyrim. At first, I was a little wary of it. I know it's a remaster, but looking at it, I'm like, I don't know, and sometimes you worry about these kind of games with like bugs and glitches stuff and going on and seeing if they're going to patch it. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll wait a little bit. I still think I'm going to try it out. I really want to play it because I never played the original either, because I think I always got confused with Morrowind versus Oblivion. And I remember Oblivion being out. I think my cousin was really into it, and I just couldn't do like the faces. Like you go to talk to someone and it would like pan. I think this is the game, right? The original, where it pans really close to the face.
Oh yeah. Yep. It certainly is. And they all have the same type of voice.
Dude, I can't. I could not. I was like, no, I just can't do it. So it's cool that they remastered it. So, and I looked at a lot of short videos that show like the before and after. It's like night and day. Holy crap. Really good job.
Oh,
So
yeah, definitely. And it's been very, very successful so far. I mean, it's over 4 million players in the first week. And actually, Steam on the first day had the second highest first day peak for a single player game this year. 82,298 concurrent players on Steam the first day, which is crazy.
that's
Sold
insane.
2 million copies sold within 24 hours on Steam. But yeah,
Just goes to show how big of a following that game had.
it's wildly popular. Wildly popular. And I was actually told that there's also a big following for a mod called Skyblivion, which is a full-on remake by the mods of Oblivion, but it's supposed to completely reskin Skyrim to make it the full-blown Oblivion game. And that's been in development for about 13 years. Scary thing about that is that people were a little bit pissed off that they dropped this in the face of that, thinking that a lot of people, that it would kind of ruin, people were worried about it. I don't think that Bethesda meant anything by it. And it's just something that Bethesda's been working on for 2 years. But the fact that it came out while they're getting close to the end of Skyblivion kind of made some people worry. But really cool thing to hear, though, was that they gave all the developers of Skyblivion free copies of the Oblivion Remastered, which was cool. And the developers, the mods for Skyblivion are actually really excited about the Oblivion Remaster as well. And there's a huge mod following in the mod community. This isn't going to hurt Skyblivion.
Yeah, mods are going to hold their own strength regardless. I mean, that's any game you play, especially when they change up a game that much.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, dude, I love mods. I mod every single game I can. That's immediately when I buy a game, I'm like, can I mod it? So, I mean, that goes to show that that's pretty cool, though, that they actually gave all of them a free copy of it. I mean, that's telling you right there that it was not meant to be a slap in the face. It was just like, hey, it's just business. This is our thing. We're dropping it now. And it's kind of like, you think there would be like some kind of like respect, for them and vice versa. So that's really cool to hear. That's really awesome. Oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, the fact that they acknowledged them enough to give them free copies is like, hey, we see what you're doing, so that's respect enough too, like
100%.
Recognition on their project.
On top of all that, the mods really carry a lot with these Bethesda games as well. They fix problems, they fix issues with unofficial patches, script extenders, you name it. They do all kinds of things to improve the quality of life for players. So Bethesda doesn't have to. So it is, to your point, Kronos, it's really cool to show them kind of celebrating mods as well and saying, hey, we see what you're doing. Here's a free copy.
This isn't the first time a game is shadow dropped and done successful. There's plenty of others. Funny enough, coming straight from Bethesda, which is they released Fallout Shelter. That was a shadow drop, and that became really successful in its own right, and people still play it. I saw you played it before, Maz. I saw you streaming it before. That was a while back, though, I think.
So, yeah, really cool story about that. It was at the 2018, and I'm watching Todd Howard talk about Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is coming, guys. And you're not going to have to wait as long for it as you think. It's going to be out in November. And I guess at this point, it's, I think it's June, July, whenever E3 used to be. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was June. And then they start talking about, Fallout Shelter. It's a mobile game. And I had played it before on my, on my phone before or on my tablet before I was streaming or doing any type of content creation. So that was kind of cool. And they're talking about it's coming over to PC. And one thing that I love about Bethesda is the way they drop things. And that was also a shadow drop. It was like, and he's on the stage and he's like, and yeah, so it's coming over to PC and you can play it tonight. And you're like, okay, that's awesome. Let's go. Right?
Yeah.
It dropped at midnight. I had it downloaded and I was streaming it at midnight right off the bat. And then we did it for probably about a month and a half. We were buying lunch boxes. We were getting donations in the stream. So I was taking those donations in real time and turning those into lunch boxes so we could improve our shelter, cut down some paywall timers, and really just kind of build up the thing. And as people were coming in and following, I would name each new dweller after one of the viewers, which was cool. So we had like 80 people in there with different names and whatnot, and they'd all get pregnant, and it was really funny and whatnot. But I was playing it. I played it for about an hour. I was like, okay, guys, it's like 1:00 in the morning. My wife, who was Mrs. Maztek, is absolutely incredible. Probably the biggest support in my entire existence. I'm like, hey, look, this is just like, we're just finding this out. This comes out in an hour. Can I do this? She's like, oh yeah, sure. Midnight, no problem. And so, I probably had, 30, 40 people in there, and I ended it. Woke up the next day at 6,000 views from rewatches and whatnot. It's just, hey, it's right place, right time. But that game is a blast, and it's something I'm actually considering doing again in the future here, because I had so much fun with the community, because we were having so much. It was really cool, the things that you could do with one another. You could go out and you could send your dwellers out on, recovery missions, or go to scavenging. They can go into buildings. So it told a story, and everybody's kind of engaged with it. And then there were times where I was playing Fallout 4, because that's how people found me originally. And we'd stop every hour to kind of check on our vault, which was really cool. So our shelter. So you're able to integrate that into the other game that we were playing. So it was really, really cool.
Hell yeah. Did you ever play that, Kronos?
No, I've actually, like I said, I've never played Fallout or anything like that. Like, I played Fallout for 5 minutes, got killed by some big robot, and I was like, yeah, I'm not trying this out anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, the cool thing is, like I said, it's another successful shadow drop, kind of out of nowhere. I remember that too, Maz. I literally was watching the same thing at the same time, listening to him, and I heard that, and I'm like, I think my uncle is a big time gamer as well as me, and he went ahead and he's like, dude, you need to get this, get it now. And I'm like, well, as soon as it releases, relax. So no, it was really cool to be a part of that, and it goes to show that if you do it right, especially for a big AAA company, they can do this type of thing and really be super successful. Sometimes they drop the ball, but most of the time, as of late, it's been successful.
76.
Yeah. Well, the unspeakable.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sneezed.
I will say some games try to do shadow drops, and it works at a start, but then they fall off pretty quick too.
Yeah.
Because, like, me being a Halo fan, Halo Infinite.
There it is.
The demo came out in, like, in September. They announced that the demo was coming. So, like, we got to play the demo up until, like, the last week of October. And then, like, the demo ended, and everybody was like, okay, now what? And they were like, hey, the game's, it's coming. Well, then they did a live stream on November 15th, which is the original release of Halo Combat Evolved.
Oh, wow. And
at the end of the stream, they were like, by the way, today you can play Halo Infinite right now. And they released it like that. And I'm like, okay. Like, there was no, like, I was at work. I wasn't even off work, because it was like, if I'd known what day it had released, I would have been there playing it.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, you know what really pisses me off about shadow drops, though?
Is work.
Yeah.
But, so, like, it was, a shadow drop, and it did so well. Like, the first 24 hours, it had over 1 million active players between Steam and Xbox at one point in time.
It's wild.
Like, the first 24 hours, the peak player count for Steam was 272,000 players. Xbox had, like, 800 some thousand within, like, the first 12 hours, I think. But within the first 2 days, it was like, they released a game as a shadow drop that was so lackluster with content that it was, like, under 200,000 players within like 2 or 3 days. It just fell off real bad for him.
Yeah, I remember playing that too when that dropped. I don't think I played it the day of it dropping, because I was probably at work as well. But I did get it at least that weekend, and I was on that for a while too. But yeah, you're right. It was kind of one of those, like, you did all you could, especially being the hardcore gamers we are, and it was like, all right, I'm done. And you're on to the next thing. So, but I see these big shadow drops coming from AAA games being successful to a point, right? As long as they got, I think for the most part, if they have a good like cult following behind them, they're probably going to do good, So the thing is, all the listeners right now are probably listening. They're like, why are you talking about AAA games right now? I thought this is Indie Hangout, right? So there's a point to this. So we're talking about shadow drops in general right here. More specifically, like I said, about Oblivion dropping on April 22nd is because it does, I feel, impact indie games pretty good, like a pretty good amount, because we had a game called Post Trauma. It's a puzzle horror game that has like PS2 era classics embedded into it. It's created by Red Soul Games, published by Raw Fury, and that game released on April 22nd. That was their date to release. So they released on the same day as Oblivion, unfortunately for them. So it was funny enough because it came straight from Raw Fury. They tweeted sarcastically, "Thank God Post Trauma was the only notable release of today and nothing else happened." So off of them,
Ouch.
yeah, off of them and all these other indie games, obviously other indie games or indie game publishers and developers were probably like, "Oh my God, look at what just happened. I'm glad I didn't release today," or something to that matter of like, just, wow, this big game is going to just steal all of the eyes and all of the players away.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when things like that happen. You are in a situation where you are, you're so big. We're talking about Bethesda, that whatever you like, and you have such classics that whatever you do is going to hit really, really hard, no matter what, no matter when you do it. But it's really frustrating, I would imagine, as an indie developer, when you're all set to do something. I mean, and to this, at the time of this recording, Post Trauma has sold 5,370 units for about gross revenue of $57,000, $58,000. Some good positive reviews and whatnot. But you can't help but wonder, what would those unit sales be right now had Oblivion not come out the same day that Post Trauma was supposed to release?
Just to
It's really
just to add to what you said, the all-time peak players from the last 7 days was 212 people
For Post Trauma?
for Post Trauma.
Oh,
55 people are playing it right now on the Steam charts,
I
and it makes
mean-
you wonder, like, did Oblivion drop hurt that game like that? To where it's
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like, oh, I guess we'll never know. I saw that the developer, Red Soul Games, had a trailer out, and this game was supposed to release earlier than April 22nd. And it's like, man, if they would have released earlier, like on time, like, would it have done better? I don't know. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just kind of unfortunate on their part. And it's like, do we really think that the success of this game was like hit or miss based on this Oblivion dropping?
No, I don't think that it impacted it that badly. I think the people I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty into watching the games that are coming out, whatnot. Not so much indie. It's one thing that I'm starting to really kind of turn my attention to a lot more. Not only because I'm a co-host for an indie podcast, but it's something I've always been interested in playing, learning, living, developing myself. And so you don't have that kind of pull. I honestly didn't know that Post Trauma was coming out that day as well. So I don't know. And I don't know if that sarcastic comment was supposed to kind of ride on the coattails of Oblivion's success, or they were legitimately pissed. I mean, I probably think it's the latter. But I mean, 5,370 units sold. Right now it's currently on Steam for $13.49. That's with a 10% discount. But it's one of those things where if you get a good game, you get a good IP, then you get the following, and then the next time you'll get that game. But I mean, it's a $13 game. It's not breaking anybody's bank, even in the face of buying Oblivion. So I think it's marketing, how well known you are. It's a myriad of things, and I really can't look at that as being a big differentiating factor between 5,300 unit sales and maybe 8,000. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the success of this game was teetering on, or like it was faltered by Oblivion dropping. I don't think at all, because it's one of those, like the description of it, it's a PS2 era classic style game, right? So it's already kind of retro to a point, and you also have it being not even in the same caliber of an Oblivion game, not in the merit of skill or graphics or anything. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about Oblivion being this more RPG style game, and then Post Trauma being a puzzle game. They're completely different genres, and I think if
Yeah.
you're going to play a puzzle game, you're going to go for the post-trauma. And if you're an RPG player, you're going to go for Oblivion. So, and if you are both, you're probably going to buy both. I don't think that it really was that big of a difference if post-trauma would have released sooner or even later. I don't think it really would have made a difference, in my opinion.
So I'm going to go against the grain here and say that I think it might have hurt it.
Oh, then you'd be wrong, sir.
You are wrong.
Yeah.
In my thought, I'm like, okay, so when I buy games, I'm buying one that I know I'm going to play. And, if it's like, okay, hey, these two games released today, I'm going to buy this one, Oblivion, and I'm going to play it. I'm not going to buy this other game because it's just going to sit until I'm done with Oblivion.
Yeah.
See, that's where I'm seeing it. Is like, people were making that choice of like, well, hey, I remember how good this game was. I want to play it again. So they're buying Oblivion, and they're like, well, I'm not going to try this game out right now because I'll be honest with you, I have games that I've bought around the same time as a big release, and I still haven't played them because I'll forget about them.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. I do. It's funny that you went against a gray. And no, it's good. It's good to have differing opinions because I do see your point where if you are both sides of the coin kind of guy, where you would want to play RPGs and puzzle games, which I would assume many people are. Think of Legend of Zelda. That's an RPG / puzzle because there's puzzle elements in the game. There's puzzle elements in many games, but just in general, if you are going to buy both, then I guess it really depends on the type of person you are. Are you like looking at post-trauma like, all right, I'm going to play this because I know it's going to be shorter than Oblivion and I want to get a good game sesh out of this. And after I'm done with this, I'll play Oblivion and then turn around and play Oblivion. Or are you going to play Oblivion first and then have that sit on the back burner? But like, what if you don't get to it, Obviously, as we all have probably come across, we play games so often. We see all these new releases for games coming out constantly. They're literally on Steam. It's stated that 39 games are released a day on Steam on average.
That's
so
crazy.
There's so many out there, right? So it's bound to happen where you always hear about people with their backlog of Steam games in their library that they never get to like, someone brings up a game like, hey, did you ever play this? No, but I own it. It's sitting in the library, just collecting dust, So like, I guess that could happen where if you bought both, one you'd actually play and the other might collect dust because the next new shiny game comes out and you want to get that instead, and start playing that one.
Yeah, that's like, Dave the Diver. I mean, I bought it the other week when Maz mentioned it, and we've been having so much fun playing Repo. I haven't touched a single other game on my computer besides that. So it's like I have all these games that are just sitting there, and I need to get to them, bro. I'm just saying, like, I need to get to them because eventually, like I said, I'll forget about them, and then I'll be like, oh, wait, I never played this.
As a friend, I will not let you forget about Dave the Diver, bro. Such a good game. So much fun. It's a nice, chill game, for sure.
But I also feel that if they had released maybe a day or two, like, if they had released, like, a day early as planned, or maybe 2 days earlier before Oblivion, more people would have picked it up, like, hey, I'll try this game out, and then when Oblivion comes out, I'll, like New said, just jump over to that one.
Like, could you imagine too, like the new Elder Scrolls coming out, like as you're playing Oblivion, and let's say, because you think about these games, these sort of games, you guys know as well as I do, they're the type of games that are kind of evergreen. They always come back to you. You always go back to them. And as far as it is for me, I'm always going back and playing Fallout. I'm always going back and playing Skyrim. And Oblivion might be another one in this, roster of games that this happens to. And then all these other games that we could put on the back burner. And then a new Elder Scrolls come out. And it's another one in your arsenal. It's like, oh man, especially like we mentioned earlier with mods and everything, the modding community being so big. And these games obviously being able to be modded. It's like these games it's like they're never going to die. They're going to live forever.
Absolutely. Speaking of backlogs, there's a friend of the show here. Y'all know him, Yemi the Ferret. He has 1,040 games in his backlog on Steam. I'm just talking about Steam. 684 DLC. He's done 47 reviews and has 217 games on his wish list.
That's insane.
That's amazing. That's a hardcore gamer through and through.
Dude, for real.
And the guy's a legend. Seriously.
For granted, I got a couple hundred different Xbox games sitting in totes from collecting over the years. It doesn't take long to pile up games, and especially indie games at like $5-6 a piece. Sometimes you could buy 10 games for the price of a AAA title.
That's what makes him a genius. inexpensiveness of these indie games. You get these deals all the time on Steam. That's when you strike. When No Man's Sky came out, it was $60 and people hated it. And then they made it right. People were like, oh, I love it. I'm like, well, guess what? Still going to wait for it to go on sale. And I got it for like $20 instead of 60. So, I mean, yeah, you can always, and I've got 277 games. And I'm actually, after mentioning how many Yemi has, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I have 277 games in my collection on Steam.
I don't even want to say how many I have. I'm not even close.
We're the hardcore gamer. Come on, what's your number?
Oh my god, it's so bad. 67.
Hold on. Where do we find this? View games library. All right. I got my Steam game library pulled up.
Okay.
Now take note. I am a newer PC gamer.
Oh,
like, I've been
Drum roll.
excuses.
Okay, yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Like I was, I just recently started streaming PC games this year. So my computer was built just to stream with. I always played Xbox, Call of Duty and all that stuff. I have 29 games.
I beat you.
Yes! There we go. I have literally almost 10 times the amount of games you have. And I don't even know if 277 games good? I mean, it seems like it's good. I think it would be like impressive. Oh, wow, you have 67 and you have 23. I got 277, but we already mentioned Yemi. So it's like, okay, he just dwarfed us.
I would love to hear from our listeners so let them tell us how many games they have in their Steam library just piling up.
Yes, absolutely. How many games do you have in your library right now? What are your favorite games in your library? And how many have you, to Cronus's point, how many have you not played?
So I just counted it. 17 of them have been bought since the end of February when I started PC streaming.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right
Like,
up there quick.
I had 12 of them, from the 6 years of having a Steam account.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So
It'll grow fast. Sales alone, man. CD keys, you name it.
yeah, man. People are going to be loving this podcast for all of the money they're going to save by going to CD keys, man.
Hell yes.
So I got a question for you, New.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about, games affecting other games. I haven't played Stardew Valley.
How dare you?
But from looking at the pictures and, how it's like I just going off of pictures, it looks like it's, like a farming type game or something. I could be wrong.
No, you're spot on. Yeah.
What if, Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing had released on like the same day? Do you think Stardew Valley would have been as popular?
Man, no.
And
That's got you there.
Probably
Well,
not.
see, that's what I'm coming at by like a big title can actually hurt a game's sales because everybody's going to play that big title first and then be like, okay, well, I don't really want to play this game that's, an indie game. It's like, I'll play this big title that everybody's playing. People follow the wave too.
I think, to be honest, and I've thought about it a little bit, I think it would have hurt it in the beginning, but Stardew would have caught fire later because Stardew caught fire later after its release anyways. So I think yes initially, no later on.
So he got me back there, man. See, y'all like what he done there.
Yeah, absolutely.
He took a second. He's like, let me think about this. Hold on, I got you. Hold on.
You got the reversal on you, right? But that's
a reverse card.
It's a good point because what is it that makes indie games catch fire? It's not, hey, I'm Joe Schmo and here's my game. Nobody knows who you are. It's PR, it's marketing. It's being lucky enough to get picked up by a big influencer who streams your game and people are like, well, where has this been my entire life?
Right.
You guys have ever heard the game Baldi's Basics?
No.
It was like a little stupid indie game. I mean, it was stupid. It was like Flash type indie game.
Okay.
And Markiplier played it. And all of a sudden, everybody was streaming it. Everybody was playing it. And so, I mean, there's a lot of luck and being in the right place at the right time. To tie it back in, I think Pneumatics hit the nail on the head. 2 different genres, 2 different levels. I mean, Oblivion is going to make its impact when it released, no matter when it released. And anybody that happened to be in the wake is going to get it. But if I'm not an RPG fan, because I know people that aren't JRPG fans, people that hate Final Fantasy games, which is blasphemy in my opinion.
Blasphemy.
But if that releases
Whoops.
let's say that releases the same day Oblivion releases. Well, people that don't like JRPGs, they're going to go with Oblivion. People that prefer Final Fantasy over Elder Scrolls, they're going to go with it. And it's the same with puzzle games versus RPG. Well, I'm in a puzzle mood, so I'm going to get that. But,
True.
you know, also a lot of people, even though there are 4 million copies sold out on Steam, how many people are playing it on Game Pass? And those people that are playing on Game Pass are paying $12 a month for PC only, or $20 a month if they want to play it on PC and console. Well, if that's what they have, then they have that extra scratch to buy that $13 game right now because they're not shelling out $50.
That is
Right.
that is very true. I didn't think about the whole Game Pass situation.
It changes the game. No pun intended. It changes the landscape of how games are played. It's play it before you buy it. You know, you fall in love with that game, you know what? And if I'm only playing Oblivion, shame on me if I'm only playing that on my Game Pass. Because I only got to play that for 4 months and I should have just bought the game. But it gives you an ample opportunity to try all these amazing new or crappy new games the day it releases in a lot of cases with the Microsoft games. And therefore really kind of lightens the load on your wallet.
Yeah.
And you know, back to the whole Shadow Drop thing. I just now thought about it when he said Microsoft. They bought Bethesda.
That they
Yeah,
did.
That explains why the Shadow Drop hit. Microsoft loves doing that.
They love to do that. They did it with Halo Infinite. Like to your point, Kronos. They did it with the multiplayer. The multiplayer was the Shadow Drop. I think it was like another month or two later before the story dropped, right?
Yeah, that came out in December, but yeah, it was like they literally was like, hey, November 15th, today you can play the multiplayer.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't a full game, but it was like the free to play multiplayer, you know.
Most people like the multiplayer anyway. Look at these damn COD games.
Yeah.
Everybody play. Who cares? Didn't the last COD not come with or is like the next one's not coming with a story mode?
Yeah, I think
Am I hearing
they
that
were
correctly?
thinking about that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And see, that draws me back to make me think if Microsoft was trying to do that as like a publicity stunt to hurt Nintendo in a way, because the Switch 2 was releasing soon or something, you know.
Man, I didn't even think about that.
I think if they're trying to hurt anybody, it's going to be Sony.
Yeah, I didn't really see if Sony had anything coming out that day.
Nintendo's in a league of its own. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't
that
touch
is true.
Nintendo. Yeah, you're not hurting Nintendo. Nobody's hurting Nintendo. But it's always a slugfest between Xbox and Sony, and quite honestly, I believe PlayStation's kind of kicking their butts right now in the console wars. Anyway, Xbox has assets. They have Acclaim, or I'm sorry, they have Activision. They have ZeniMax, who owned Bethesda. I mean, they own all of Bethesda and all. I mean, they got a lot of firepower.
I think Xbox is more so focusing on the money right now. You know, they're just Forza 5 is going to PlayStation and stuff. I mean, they're all about the money. The console wars are over, as everybody likes to say.
You know,
Agreed.
it's funny because Nintendo has been like the one console. This is kind of like off topic a bit, but like it's the one console that is super. Best way to put this, like it's very indie friendly, but also not. So like the reason it's indie friendly is because like if you're playing any kind of indie game on PC and you're streaming it, most people pop in and be like, "Is this on Switch? Is this on Switch?" Like that's like the number one question that pops up when you're playing an indie game on the PC and streaming it. And I don't think that's going to change when the Switch 2 comes out. The problem, though, why I say it's also not indie friendly is because trying to get the dev kit and trying to get approved is a nightmare compared to doing it on Xbox and Sony. So there's that. But yeah, as you said, Maz, like it's like good all around. Nintendo is in a league of its own. They kind of went away from Sony and Xbox and said, Microsoft, and you guys battle. We're gonna stick to what we know over here and still sell millions.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna go win. You guys go ahead and kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you don't see Mario games on any other console. You probably never will, as long as Nintendo's healthy. You got a huge following, and they don't ever discount their games. If you want to go buy Super Mario Brothers 2 right now, you're paying $60. I mean, I'm being facetious, but those Mario games, they don't come down in price.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not lying. The original like Mario game that first released on the Switch, still $60.
Yep, and it always will be, unless the price goes up. And then they got
Tariffs.
your back. Did you say that out loud?
No. You know, with the Switch 2 coming out, I bet you with how well it's being perceived, with how it can do these higher end graphics and everything, I bet you it could run a game like this, which is another game, another indie game that could have been affected by Oblivion. That game is Claire Obscure Expedition 33. It's a new IP that just came out. It's been being hyped up for a while with its PR and everything. It was developed by Sandfall Interactive, and it's very similar to Oblivion in that it is an action RPG. So it's very similar in terms of that. It's like I said, it's brand new, whereas Oblivion's a well-known one, right? It's a remaster, so people are more likely, I feel, to go to something that they know and loved than to something new that they are unsure of, even if it does look really good. So it's like with this is a new notch in the cog here, right? We said, maybe a puzzle game isn't going to be affected. Me and Maz have agreed that we don't think it didn't matter at all, but I do see your point, Kronos. But do you think that this game being exactly similar, not exactly, but really similar to Oblivion, could have been affected more than Post-Trauma, being that it's an RPG as well?
See, that I don't know, because like I just looking at the sales, it's already sold over 1 million copies in 3 days, so it's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And on that aspect, it's like you said, it's a lot like Oblivion, so therefore it's something new. So it's it's like this big new thing that's just like this one. It's like, well, I want to try something new versus something I know is going to be good and I can come back to it. As I was saying, like the indie games, we all know they're it's a gamble sometimes. We've even said it. We gamble. It was in another podcast. We'll throw $5 or $6 at a game and see how we like it. It might not be that good. So that's kind of how I see it. Is like, people, I don't know why, but big titles, people will throw more money at it and go with something flashy and new versus a remake.
I agree with that. I mean, so at the end of the day, as good as Oblivion is, it's always been good. And it's had its own share of problems. But it is a 19-year-old game. I mean, it's over 19 now. It's March 21st, 2006 was the original release. You're getting an overhauled graphics system, which works for me because you've heard me say it before. I am a graphics hound. I'm very, very attracted to graphics, but at the end of the day, it's a 20-year-old game. And Claire Obscure Expedition 33, that's a new game. And I don't think it's really hurt it too much. I mean, an indie game that sold over 1 million copies in the first 3 days. I'm happy as that developer.
Yeah.
By the way, it's available on Game Pass, Maz.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to check that out.
I mean, I think it goes to show, like, this game, it looks amazing, and I've only heard really good things about it. And like you said, Kronos, it's already sold within the first 3 days over 1 million copies. So I guess it's just one of those, what if it would have released later, or if it would have released earlier, would it have made a difference? Would have it impacted it any differently? It's one of those things we'll never know. But I was, I guess, nitpicky to a point, just curious of like player base shortage when it comes to certain genres, right? So you got, as we said, most players, like my wife, she would probably never touch either of those games. Oblivion. No, she might touch Oblivion. She might, but she'd probably never play this new IP. Claire Obscure. And as far as the post-trauma games, she probably would. So I guess when it's like the pool of players, in my head, I'm picturing like a different pools for each genre. You got this pool of RPGs players, you got this pool of MMOs. You got that too, like battle royales. Like how many Fortnite players are going to be jumping in to play these games? I don't know. So it's like out of the pool of players of RPG players, how many, obviously these companies are trying to grab all the eyeballs to come to them. And it's like, would it have made a difference? I don't know. It's just, obviously, I think a lot of people do also feel that if a game is good, if it's actually a good game, it's eventually going to get its recognition.
Agreed.
Because some people might think it's luck, which there's a bit of luck in it. There's a bit of, I think it's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got luck. You got your PR, like if you worked with a publisher to help you with that. You got, like, imagine like Steam getting you on the front page. I would have never probably even considered Claire Obscure Expedition 33 if I had not, one, heard about it because of the Oblivion Shadow drop, or two, because I saw it on the front page of Steam. All because of those, I'm like, huh, that looks kind of cool. If neither one of those things would have happened, I probably would have never even thought to even pick this game up. I don't know about you guys.
Now that's a pretty good point, because there are games like if you never see anything about them, you'll never know, you know. So it's like there'll be times like, you know, with using the Game Pass as an example, I'll go into the Xbox store and all of a sudden it's like I'll see a game right there on the front page and I'm like, wait a minute, that looks interesting. I'll click on it, check it out, and sometimes I'll play it, sometimes I don't. But if they wouldn't show up like that, I never would, you know, because it used to be, you know, you get a magazine every month or something, you'd read through it, look at all the new stuff coming out. Now everything's, you know, digital, so it's like unless you're in that certain areas where you can see it, you're not going to know about it.
Yeah. I also think that, like, when it comes to, like I had said before, you gave me the decision between Animal Crossing and Stardew, right? And that I feel Stardew would have caught fire later on. I do think this is a similar scenario, in my opinion, that even though I would have never seen this new game if it was not on the Steam homepage or blown up because of releasing around the same time Oblivion did, right? I think that because it's a good game, because it's selling so well and playing so well with everyone, I mean, I've seen really good positive reviews of it. I think eventually I would have heard about it. Eventually, who knows? One of you guys could have picked it up and then been like, yo, new, you need to check out this game. It's really, really good, you know? At the end of the day, I still hold true to saying that if it's a good game, it's eventually going to get its spotlight. That's how I feel. What do you think, Mass?
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, in terms of, you're talking about PR exposure.
PR in general, how AAA games have seemingly endless amounts of money to throw at to get the game in front of people. But like at the end of the day, does it really matter? Maybe initially, but long term?
I think it does until it gets out there and you get your own following, right? Then the PR gets easier, right? You don't have to spend so much. But look at these different indie games, or I think of mobile games when I think of PR, like, because a lot of indie developers make mobile games. Wouldn't you agree with that as well?
Yeah.
And
yeah, definitely.
And it's easy and it's cheap to buy display ads to push your content and whatnot. So there are little tiny ways around it. You know, Facebook ads, social media ads, behavioral targeting, which is pennies on the dollar. I mean, it's everything is charged in cost per thousands. You know, $500, $600 could get you 50, 60,000 impressions throughout the internet. Now that goes pretty fast, obviously, but it gives you some skin in the game. But these AAA companies, they can throw truckloads of cash at it for PR. And I do believe that it makes a difference. I don't think it tapers off, because I think it tapers off when you stop the PR, right? Think about it this way. What's the most popular soft drink in the world?
Huh.
I mean,
Mountain Dew.
It's no. Not what's your favorite. What's the most popular? What's the most well-known?
Either Coke or Mountain Dew, probably.
Yeah, it's Coke. They spend billions of dollars on marketing and PR. Why? Everybody knows what Coke is. Why do they need to advertise?
Keeps it fresh.
It's always in your
Keeps you
face.
Always in your face, keeps you fresh, keeps you relevant. And I want a soda, I'm thinking Coke. So the more you put towards your intellectual property, whether it be Oblivion or it be Stardew Valley or it be a company that can afford to get their name in front of you more often than not, because the more repetition you get, the more likely you are to purchase. I think that bolsters your chances. So I don't think that it's ever too much. And I do think that as you make your profits and you're happy with your return on investment and you feel, hey, you know what? I don't need to push this so hard anymore. I think then that's when your exposure starts to wane.
Now, see, I will be honest, even with Oblivion, which I'm pretty sure has had a lot of publicity, I didn't know about it until I heard Joe talking about it.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's on my idea, is like, it's also the type of games that you're into. Exactly. I've never really played those type of games, so I'm not looking for them either, you know, so.
And that's exactly it. I think that kind of what you're saying here ties back to Pneumatics' point, is if you were looking for an RPG, you know this is coming out. If you're looking for a puzzle, then you know that post-trauma is right there as well that day. Because you're looking for it. So you hadn't heard of Elder Scrolls before we started mentioning it, or just the game coming out?
Like, I've heard of it. I've known about it. I just, like, the last one I remember is, like, Skyrim. And like I said, I tried that for, like, a couple minutes and didn't play it anymore. And then after that, it was, like, they were like, oh, a new Elder Scrolls title or something's coming out. And I'm like, oh, didn't know that. You know, like, it just, they wasn't games that I was focused on.
Yeah. And that's how it is. So if they hadn't shadow dropped it and they were putting a ton of money towards PR, which Bethesda's one of those that I guess they don't really feel like they have to because they've got that following. You drop a couple of social media posts saying, hey, join us tomorrow on our Twitch channel, which has millions of viewers. That's pretty much free publicity right there, free PR. They kind of do it on their own. But if they were pushing that out to people that were RPG gamers, I mean, there's ways to find out, hey, what kind of games are you watching? That's, I mean, if you look on your Steam, these are recommended to you because you played this and because you played this. So it's all based on algorithms. So they're keeping that out of, away from you. Or not keeping it away from you, but just not putting it in front of you because they know that you don't play that type of genre. So it all kind of ties in, and that's all part of your PR as well, right? It's marketing. It's let's set the algorithm so people like Pneumatics and Maz have this game in front of them because those are the type of games that they enjoy. Don't worry about Kronos. He likes to play shooters. He likes to play multiplayer games. He likes to play Repo, those types of games.
Well, see, now the thing is, like, I play Fable and Devil May Cry, which are RPG type games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when was the last time you played it?
I played Devil May Cry about a week or two ago. But
right.
At the same time, it's kind of like what you were saying too. It's what, like, it's the same genre, but it's not those type of games. Like, it's like, okay, he's looking up Devil May Cry more, these type of games, so we're going to show him those games. Whereas, like, y'all play Fallout and Skyrim. Hey, we're going to push this towards y'all, like, just like the new Devil May Cry games might be coming out soon, and y'all be like, oh, I didn't know that. Whereas,
exactly.
Me with Oblivion, I'm like, oh, hey, I didn't know that either, It's all on what you play, I guess, in the end of it.
Absolutely. I would consider Devil May Cry to be more of like an action adventure than an RPG anyway. A true RPG,
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
But when you talk about Fable, that does fall in that realm of RPG. Like your Fallout, like your Elder Scrolls type games.
Yeah, Devil May Cry reminds me kind of like, I don't know if you would agree with this, Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, oh yeah, Ninja Gaiden,
Yep.
Yeah, very similar.
Yep,
So,
hack and slash.
I would more likely to see that in your recommended than something similar to that point.
Yeah, and back to another thing that Matt or New said earlier was, a game that's, plays well. It's, also, if the game isn't going to be something that plays well and people can have fun with, they're not going to play it either, and then it's just going to be word of mouth to the next people, like, hey, don't play this game. So then that can also hurt you too.
Yeah.
Just like with Repo. Repo was originally going to be a single-player game, no multiplayer, and I'm like, when I seen that it was a multiplayer game where you can goof off, that made it that much more wanting to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. The real problem here is I can't believe we're in the presence of someone who played Skyrim for a few minutes and dropped it. I mean,
there are so many people in my community that don't like Skyrim, and it makes me sick.
how dare they?
I know it. My God. But Kronos, you got to try it again, bro.
I mean, like,
Mod it.
I've tried games. Like, it's just, I'm drawn towards certain games, like, I like my, blood and gore, like, Gears of War.
Hell
stuff,
yeah. Absolutely. And that's why you get recommended the games you get recommended. Because based on your behavior on your Steam, they're not going to push Oblivion to you because that's not what you enjoy. You're not going to see Skyrim on there. You're going to see Gears. You're going to see Devil May Cry. You're going to see, these different types of games where you can mess around. Halo games, anything shooter, Call of Duty games. Those are going to show up in your feed. And there's no, as much as we're going to give you a hard time about not liking Elder Scrolls, that's okay though. It's not for you. And these games are not for everybody. They're for specific people that prefer those genres. Now, I like the blood and gore as well. I'd like to see more blood and gore in my RPGs, to be completely honest with you. But I like that I am attracted to games that make you build your character. You can make your character stronger. You can evolve. That's like probably the biggest thing that attracts me to that kind of genre.
You know, I like the games that have like, you know, because Gears of War, it's a lot of comedy in it. Devil May Cry, it's a lot of comedy. I like the games where, like, while they're serious type games, they're also funny. Like, you know, I'm laughing while I'm playing it. I'm like, so that's a lot of what I go for too. So, and I see like Oblivion and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen some of Maz's shorts and they're funny, but like the game itself, it's more so him making it funny, you know.
Yeah, like that game, those games really for the most part are not funny. Every once in a while you'll get a funny quest or some funny moments and whatnot, like drinking yourself blackout drunk with a Daedric god, you know, or getting drunk and trying to sing a song in the middle of a fair or something like that. But it's for the most part, to your point, there's not much comic relief in those games.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, you got a woman that walked up behind you the other night and it was like saying stuff. You turned around and punch her in the face and then shoot her, and I'm like, I laughed at that part. Like, I didn't laugh at her just walking away and stuff. I'm like, so
she was being rude.
I like the games, you know, that have that humor built into them. So it's
yeah,
I'd agree too. I think that what we're kind of getting to as well is that with indie games in general, I like any game in general, but if for indies especially, with these developers, what they really should do is when they're creating their games, they need to make sure that their game, when they niche down to whatever genre, they just need to go hardcore into that genre, like really niche into it and make sure you do it well, because by doing that, you make yourself more, I guess, a lack of a better term, viewable to gamers that are interested in that type of genre. I think they'd be more likely to be, instead of a developer trying to like be a bit all over the place, like out of scope, like they're trying to be an action RPG, but focused on, oh geez, I can't even think of anything, like just like we're straight to puzzles, you know, like puzzle, like they're just straight up, it's a RPG puzzle. Like it doesn't really work, I don't think. You know?
It's not a great fusion.
Right.
yeah.
So it's a matter of like just stick to a good solid genre and do it well. And then as long as it's good, it probably will find success.
Or if you have the right type of genre fusion as well, that can create your own niche. I mean, look at Borderlands. You know, RPG mechanics and elements to it. Well, mechanics and elements. And then action adventure, first person shooter mechanics. A lot like, I mean, Fallout 4, same, you know, Fallout series, same way. It's you have multiple genres fused together. And I think that can create some popular titles, and it has.
Yeah.
But it's hard, to your point. I think what you're saying is it's hard as an indie developer to do that right off the bat. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah. Discoverability, I think, would be a lot more difficult trying to do that mix.
Sorry, it's not what you were trying to say, it's what you did say.
No, it's all good. So I have another topic on this, not straying too far away from Shadow Drops, but in general, for indie games in general, you know, future concerns that indie devs need to worry about. It's not just Shadow Drops. And this is why this episode is so big when it comes in scope of like everything that indie dev has to worry about, right? Not only do, you know, they have to worry about getting their game done in the first place, be skilled enough to make it fun and engaging and like just solid in general, right? They also have to worry about these Shadow Drops coming out. They have to worry about other AAA games. They have to worry about when they're going to release their game, you know? So seasonal. In the fall, winter, you got these big AAAs releasing. Probably not a good time to release for an indie dev. It could be. I mean, if you pick the right slot, you might be able to win over. But in general, you know, you got to worry about these big seasonal times where people are really getting into gaming again, or these big releases are coming out and you might just get washed out, you know?
Absolutely.
I think if you do it right, and the only reason I'm bringing this up too is because it's stuff that I've thought about as well, and also things I've heard, because I've watched a lot of videos on indie dev. I've watched a lot of stuff about people that just play indie games in general or something similar to that matter. And they do say, like, I've heard it straight from a guy who on YouTube, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about just indie games in general. Like, yeah, there's nothing really being released right now that it's like kind of slow. I wish that more people would release right now. So it's like one of those keeping your ears open, like, oh man, okay, so that maybe when my game is done, around this time would be a good time to release because it could get some eyes on it like faster, quicker, and it might be able to, get a good head start compared to releasing in, the seasonal time. And I think the only time you might be able to get over on that is if you are an indie dev that was lucky enough to get into some showcases, some directs that were showed off straight from Nintendo or Xbox or I should say Microsoft or Sony and all that.
I was actually about to say that, how Xbox Direct, they actually show off a lot of indie games, and then those games seem to actually do really well because it puts it in the eyes of a lot of people. So it's showcases I can see definitely help a lot. And then, like you said, hitting that seasonal period, it's like if your game is more kid friendly, I could see releasing it around, late June, early July when school is out, to where they're going to be home and playing it a lot more would probably help too.
But yeah, summer break and all that.
Yep. Yeah, like catching that right time. Okay, like, so what is this game catered towards? Like, when would these people be playing it more? Like, if you got a game that's catered more towards like adults like us and stuff, that play the type of games we do. Okay, hey, if we release this around the wintertime, they're not going to be outside doing as much during the day. They're going to be inside playing.
Right. And then you got to deal with, so like that should be like, I think about the same thing. Like who's my target audience, right? You always need to know who your target audience is. If you don't, then that's probably not going to end up well when you try and release, right? Because you could end up releasing quote unquote on like a bad timing, but going back to it, like I said, if it's a good game, it's still going to get some kind of traction. But as you stated, like, I mean, if you're aiming for, maybe more of a kid-friendly, maybe like a Kirby style game, then obviously, I mean, summertime would be a great time to release, I think, because then you'd be able to get it in the eyes of all these, kids that want to play games like that, possibly.
I think any time but the fourth quarter is a good time for an indie developer to release a game, especially if it's their first game. Call of Duty always comes out in November, right? Usually big Bethesda releases are in November. Oblivion came out in March. I mean, Skyrim came out in November of 2011. Fallout 4 came out in November of 2015. I mean, they're gearing up for the holidays and Christmas, to your point.
Right. That's one of the scarier things too. Like I said, with me thinking, obviously, a couple years from now, hopefully not too long, but when I release, it's like that's in the back of my head. I think it helps. That's one of those things that helps to have a publisher.
Yes.
But like going back to it, that's why it's so frustrating for Raw Fury when they're the publisher for Red Soul Games for Post Trauma. That's probably why they tweeted what they did, because they're in partnership with Red Soul Games to try and make sure that game is successful so they get their money back for it. And so Red Soul Games is successful as well. And they get money for it. But it's one of those, yeah, you do kind of, as a indie dev, if you have a publisher, you kind of lean on them if that's in your agreement to help you out with like, hey, you guys have helped release many games for other devs. What would be a good time, to release my type of game? And I think that would be very helpful for a lot of indie devs.
100%. Like you said, spring break, when the day school gets out, or with the week school gets out across the country, lots of factors to consider. And having a publisher, they're going to have that knowledge, that experience.
Yeah. Do you think if a game decided, let's say, for instance, Post Trauma was about to release, right? And let's say Oblivion Shadow drops and they haven't hit the publish button yet. And they're like, whoa, Raw Fury's coming at Red Soul Games, like, whoa, hold on. Maybe let's take a step back. Let's think about this. What if we were to delay for like a week or a month? Polish it up more, squash any more bugs you might think you have, and just make sure it's all well-rounded. We'll finish up with our stuff on our end, and let's just delay it. Do you think that would be a good idea or a bad idea?
To me, it would depend on the hype behind the game. Like, if you were posting about it nonstop and building a bunch of hype about it, and then you're like, hey, look, we're delaying it a month. People hate delays.
Yes. It piss a lot of people off doing that.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, It to me it would depend on the popularity of the game before the release.
Yeah, I think you are correct. I think a delay would be terrible. There's too many, because the problem with delays is that it just doesn't look good no matter what, right? You might actually hurt yourself worse by doing that, because then you're going to have players that were hyped for the game all of a sudden like, oh, what the hell? I thought this was going to release on this day. Now they're pushing it off for a month. Like, what's wrong with it? Like, are they not ready? Like, are they not, were they not smart enough to know when when their game was ready? Like, there's a lot of other factors that go into it, that you may lose some of your player base because now they've lost, in a way, kind of respect for that dev. So yeah, I do agree. And I don't think releasing it, like we said before, going back to it kind of round and round, is just that I don't think they're going to lose sales when, I'm just thinking about it, like post-trauma, they didn't do that bad, when you look at their sales. Because what, did you bring it up, Kronos, that they did like over 50K?
That was Maz.
Maz?
Yeah.
$58,000, roughly.
Which honestly, for the type of game, a puzzle horror game inspired by PS2 classic era, I mean, I think that's pretty good for what it is. So, and after looking at some screenshots of it as well and seeing some gameplay before we recorded the pod, I was like, yeah, I can see that. It's not bad. Not bad at all.
Is that their first game?
I think so.
That's really good. Especially if it's their first game.
Hold on, sorry, just look it up, bro.
Yeah, I think that was their first game.
Yeah, you're right, Kronos, you're right. It says Post-Trauma is the first game developed by Red Soul Games. Damn, that's really, yeah, you're right. That's really good for their first game, dude.
That's pretty spectacular.
Wow. I can only hope for that.
I'm not worried about you, bro. You got this.
It's another thing too. I mean, to me, it sounds good, but then it's like, how long were they developing it?
True as that may be, to have that kind of return that quickly. I mean, we're talking a week today, right? I mean, it came out a week ago today, so they've sold 5,300 copies for 57.
But they've made about 50 grand in a week, so that's not bad if you think about it.
Yeah,
that's actually really
not
good.
Going,
okay,
it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's going to continue to
that
build
is
up.
true.
Yeah,
and it may not have caught fire yet, right?
Yeah,
very true. If it's a good game, it will catch fire eventually, and it will make its sales. It is always a correlation between a game releasing, its sales being astronomical, and then them dropping off dramatically. But then, like we've said, if it's a good game, then they'll start to climb back up, So, like, lifelong of the game, it's going to be pretty good, seeing as how the sales are going for the game so far. And I did look it up. It said that the game was approximately in development for 4 years, so by Red Soul Games. So, not bad. It was by a small team, so they started off in 2020, and they actually partnered with Raw Fury in 2022. That's probably where they got a lot of help with figuring out when to release their game and everything like that, and PR.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I see, like, I was thinking, in my head, I was like, well, I forgot it's only been a week, and I'm like, well, if you only made like 50 grand in like 2 years of being released, it's like, I wouldn't really call that a big success type thing. It's like, you spent years making it, and it'd be like if Soldu Valley only had made 50 grand, and he spent 8 years making it.
True.
That's a lot of time, in modern day, time is money. I mean, we
think about it. If you want, I mean, you kind of make a good point. Like, if you want to do game dev if you're an indie dev and you want to do it full time as a career, then if you can live off of 50K a year, but if it took you 4 years to make the game and you only made 50K, then that's definitely not a good turnaround. But if you can make a game within a year and make 50, that's obviously a better turnaround. It's one of those, it's probably like, it's one of those, I would hope that they are in my case, where I work a full-time job and I do it on the side, and I'm hoping when I release it that it makes me good enough that I can then possibly do indie dev full-time. But then that's a whole other subject, because then it gets scary, because then you got to hope that your next one's just as good,
Right. But, I understand what you guys are saying, but I'm still looking at the sample size. It's a week.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody wants to knock on my door, hand me a $50,000 check 1 week from today, I am not saying no, and I am not crying.
The week thing definitely, makes it sound better. Like, that's like, okay, in 1 week you've made 50 grand.
Now, what we should do is maybe revisit this topic in a month or two and see how their sales are.
That would be, see how they're still doing, it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
If in
very
a
good
month
idea.
they've only made $2,000 more, it's like, okay,
Then we got a
it's
problem.
kind of dropping
Yeah.
off. It's dropping off now, like it's.
All right, awesome. Good stuff, guys. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and take a quick ad break. And when we get back, we're going to go ahead and go over our question of the pod. We're going to go over our poll questions and dig into anything that might be in our mailbag right after this. Do you want to be a part of the next episode and steal the spotlight? Then send us your questions for the pod via dropping them in our Discord server or shooting us an email over at indiehangoutcast@gmail.com. The best ones get featured on the show, whether they be short and sweet or long and comprised of multiple questions. Even send us over some hot takes to really get the conversation fired up, and your question just may get featured in the next episode. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Indie Hangout Podcast. All right, so we are going to get into our question of the pod, and we actually got a couple good responses, and I want to hear all of our responses to this. But the question is, do we feel we've missed out on great indie games due to big AAA games being released? Or if it's a good game, will it eventually get the attention it deserves? So what do you think, Kronos?
Okay, so I actually can test to this pretty well because Minecraft, when it released, it wasn't a big title at the time. And I didn't play it for the longest time because I was playing like Halo and Call of Duty. But Minecraft, being the good game it is, it grew. And, eventually I ended up playing it and it got more attention. And now millions of people play it. So I would say I've missed out on some few, but I think eventually they get the attention and I've played them, come back to them or something.
Nice. What about you, Mass?
Absolutely. I mean, and there's like it's no surprise that I've played my Bethesda games, and those were all AAA games and everything like that. And I'm sure that in my time streaming those types of games, playing them on my own, I've kind of let some indie games slip through the cracks as I've become more and more aware of indie games. Like when they first came out, it was like, I remember the first time I saw an indie game was on my Xbox 360, and I'm like, what the hell's that? It's like, no. And so it took a while for those to kind of get my attention, but I did enjoy them when I started playing them. But I definitely think that playing my AAA games, not just necessarily the ones that I was mentioning, but other games as well, overshadowed it. But as indie games become more prolific in mainstream gaming society, and I think that's a fair assessment to say that is becoming a thing. It's becoming more mainstream than just what it was before. Lots more developers, a lot more titles being released. So I think that as a result, it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to miss those. Or maybe we're so partial to the genre that we're enjoying in AAA that we do let those slip through the cracks sometimes. But as we've talked about earlier in this podcast, if it's a good game, it's going to get noticed. It'll get picked up. To Kronos' point, busy playing other AAA games, didn't get on Minecraft right away. Yep. No Man's Sky releases, horrible PR, horrible reviews. Okay, on to what I'm doing, but we don't have a really good space game that at that point, right? They develop it, they fix it. They put out a whole bunch of PR, say, hey, sorry, we're making it right now. People give it another chance, and all of a sudden it starts to get that attention that it deserves because they fixed it. And quite honestly, No Man's Sky is a game that feels like a AAA game. I mean, it has that look and feel and the support. So if it's good enough, it will, I do believe it will overcome any type of obscurity that it gets in the wake of any AAA game or anything like that and be noticed.
Oh, yeah, I like that. It's funny you mentioned seeing the first indie game on Xbox, and I'm curious if some people still feel this way. If they're not like, I mean, even if you are a hardcore gamer, maybe you could still feel this way. But I remember when I first saw an indie game, I was really confused by it. I'm like, what is an indie game? I don't understand. And then figuring out that it was like created by a small team or one person, I'm like, all right, so it's trash. All right, I'm not going to play it. That's literally what I
100%.
thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be terrible. Because it wasn't, in your head, you're like, well, why would I play that when I can play this game that was made by a team of 100 people and it's like amazing graphics and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but obviously that has shifted in a good way where that's, at least I feel most people feel this way, that indie games are as good or sometimes better than a lot of these AAA games as we've just discussed before. So
100%. That's where we've gone with it. They've proliferated.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, going into that, you're probably going to know what my answer to this is that same with you guys. If a game is good enough, it's going to get seen, it's going to get heard of, it's going to get played. And one of those for what one game we've talked about is Dave the Diver. You've brought up, Maz. I've never played that game. I've never played that game. Kronos bought it, so he's eventually going to play it. I want to buy it and I want to play it. It is a really good game that released and got a lot of attention, got good sales, and I missed out on it because I was busy playing some other games. Now it's come back to me. Eventually, it came back because it's a good game. So now I'm going to buy it and I'm going to play it. So it goes to show, yeah, if it's a good game, you will eventually get back to it. Now, that is not to say that all good games will get played, right? But I think there's a good mix of enough people in the world playing games that there's a good chance that if an indie game is good, it will be played. Because, yeah, I came back to Dave the Diver, but there may be others that I completely missed out on that are just as good that may come to me by the end of the year, next year, or never. So it's just a waiting game sometimes. But yeah, I think that's good. It's a good thing to say that it'll eventually get the attention it deserves. So we do have, like I said, some responses from our friends over in Discord. So if you are not in our Discord yet, be sure to go ahead and click that link, join our Discord, so you can be a part of the conversation with us right now. So we have a response from Chaz Kramer 420. He says, I think that they will get the attention they deserve if they are good. But also, I think they will sell if offered a buyout by a AAA company or join said company and try to keep as much independence as possible. But also, I'm almost certain a good game has been swept under the rug because they can't push their game out in the market anywhere, so people end up not even knowing about it. Yeah, I mean, pretty much going along with what we're talking about, right?
100%.
Yeah, very good point.
Easy to get overlooked. It's competitive.
All right, we got the guy we had mentioned earlier. You had mentioned earlier, Maz, Mr. Yemi the Ferret. He says, if you keep your ear close to the indie scene, you can weed out what games you might be interested in. I've curated my Steam suggestions to weed out AAA because I already know what's coming out from that market anyways. A lot of my favorite games from a year are indie, and that wouldn't happen if I only kept up with what was popular. Some games break out into the mainstream like Balatro or Hollow Knight, but there are so many that do get swept over simply because more people are going to be interested in AAA titles, and you can only hope they get the attention they deserve through word of mouth or the like. I love that he brought up Balatro and Hollow Knight, two games I haven't played, but two games I've heard so much about and are super successful. I mean, I think Balatro is a card game. And then, yeah, obviously I brought up Hollow Knight before. Such a good 2D scroller. Really, really good games. And I didn't know, did you guys know you could do this? To completely just curate so you don't have AAA titles in your Steam library or in your Steam. I know we kind of mentioned earlier about curating, like just if you're into RPGs, you're going to be shown just RPGs, but like just indie titles? I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't either.
I thought that was cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Really
so
cool.
I'm going to be doing that.
Yemi really knows his stuff too. So I mean, he's very, very exceptionally knowledgeable.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And then we got one more response we'll read off from Nyla Inc. They say, I don't feel like I've missed the indie games I'm interested in. That being said, unless it is a breakout, I don't think most people will notice a good indie game over a much more not mainstream advertised AAA. So that's going against the grain, I think, a bit, right? So he's saying that he thinks even if it's not a big AAA game, it will still overshadow an indie for most gamers.
Yeah, see, I mean, I understand that point, but I think as we have more and more indie games, you're going to have different things that are going to factor in. It's, replayability, polish, price point, especially price point. These are all little factors that have inched and brought the indie games into the mainstream as it is. And I think that a AAA game going back to what we were talking about, Oblivion versus Post-Trauma. I think that a AAA game versus a not very well marketed AAA game of a different genre than a really good indie game that has good marketing, I don't think that will affect it as much. I think if it's pound for pound RPG versus RPG, shooter versus shooter, yeah, I think there's there's more of an opportunity for that AAA to steamroll.
Oh yeah, I agree. Do you want to add anything to that, Kronos?
I pretty much agree with Maz on that. Like, indies are going to just hold their own strength in their certain areas. I mean, while some indie games similar to AAA games in types of stories and stuff, they're not also looked at as like, hey, this is Call of Duty versus Fortnite or something. You're not comparing an indie game to a AAA game, so they're going to hold their own place and be popular and keep growing.
I will share also, just to be fair to Nilet, he said that he doesn't think most people will notice. And, you've got your casual type of gamer that just wants to play a game, and they're going to see what's in front of them, and they're going to buy what they like and whatnot. And then you've got the more passionate gamers like us that are looking and keeping up with the news and investing our time into learning more about each individual game that's coming out, or indie games. And then I'm sure that there are people out there that have no idea what an indie developer is versus a AAA game.
Oh, yeah.
So to be fair to his statement, he did say he doesn't think that most people will notice. Not to say that nobody will notice.
No, I love it. Thank you, everyone, for adding to the conversation. Love reading these off during the podcast. Be sure to, if you want to, like I said, be a part of the Discord, be a part of the conversation with us, so you can go ahead and be a part of that question of the pod. Thank you guys again. So now I think it'd be a good time to mention the poll. So the poll did lean towards AAA games. So we did ask, when a major new AAA game launches, what's your go-to move? Now, the reason we asked this was because it has everything to do with everything we've talked about, how AAA games affect indie games. So in the matter of Oblivion shadow dropping, what was your first move with it, right? So on the poll, your choices were buy it release day, wait for reviews, patches, watch a stream video, or to wait for a sale, or for it to die down in the hype.
I picked buy it release day because most of the time with major AAA games, it's had the publicity. You've seen how it plays. You know what it looks like. If I like it, I'm going to like it right off the bat.
Nice. I think I put... No, I do know what I put. I put wait for sale, less hype. Because when a new AAA game drops, it's so... I don't know why my brain does this all the time. It annoys me. Even if it's a game I love, I know I'm going to love this game, I still wait. I'm like, nah, I'll wait a little bit. I'll wait for a sale to come. Or like we've talked about before, like my brain goes, oh, it's too hyped up. I need to die down a bit. And then I'll allow myself to buy it. It's so weird. I don't know why I do it, but that's the way I am. I will wait for a sale or less hype. That's me personally, and that's what I picked. What about you, Maz?
I do the same. Wait for a sale or less hype. Not the hype so much to me is that I'm always looking for a good deal. Now, it's not to say that I don't place value on it, but I kind of swim against the current when it comes to, I don't agree with price increases the way that they've been. I don't believe that these new games need to be $80 for the base game plus an additional $20 for a season pass, anything like that. I think that's just kind of stupid. And we'll talk about this in a future podcast. I'm not a fan of biting the hand that feeds you. As far as you exist as a publishing company, as a developer or whatever, because your fan base believes in your product. It doesn't mean keep jacking the price up on us. And price is all based on value, right? What you think is worth $60 might only be worth $30 to me. Oblivion Remake. I would have bought that on Steam in a heartbeat if it was $30. But they wanted to release it for $50. So guess what? I'm getting it on Game Pass and I'm not paying for it. It's one of those types of things. They're getting their money anyway, but it's a smaller trickle value to me. So yeah, I think that's really how I do it. It's based on just a sale. Now, however, if it's something that I have to have, Elder Scrolls 6, a new Fallout game or anything like that, take my money. Regular, when a major AAA game launches, I'm generally 9 times out of 10 going to wait for a sale. Nice.
So over on the poll, I think that I don't know what I'm saying. So when we asked it over on Discord and we asked it on X, I compile them together and then we get our answer. So the majority voted for wait for a sale or less hype, followed closely by buy it release day. So on Discord, it's going to show differently. We have 31% for less hype, and a 31% for watch for stream or playthrough, which you would think is tied, and a 23% for buy it release day, and a 15% for wait reviews or patches. So people don't, I guess we don't really care about the reviews or the patches. We either want to get it right away or get our money's worth kind of deal, or watch someone else play it to make sure we're going to like it. But we had a couple votes over on X that I compiled with this, which turns the vote in the favor of wait for sale or less hype. So that is the general, I guess, consensus for people, is they want to spend less to get that AAA game. All right, cool. So like I said, if you guys want to be a part of that, join the Discord or go over to X and follow us under Indie_Hangout, and you'll be able to see the polls over there as well. All right, ending off, mailbag. I don't have a mailbag for you guys. It's dust in there. I don't have anything for you guys.
What?
Oh man. So that's okay. It's okay. Second episode of the pod. I want to go ahead and hopefully see a lot more. We want to see a lot more from you guys over in Discord or over on X, or you can email us at indiehangoutcast@gmail.com. Be sure to throw some questions our way. It can be anything. Just write us. We'll love to read it off. If it's a question, if it's a hot take, if you say your taste in games sucks because Stardew's terrible, or you're telling us, Maz needs to give it another chance, or even Kronos, like, why won't you play Skyrim? Just send it to us. We will love to answer. We would love to answer all of your questions or your statements. So please do so. All right. What do you guys think? Good to go?
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Cool. So I had a great time. This was an awesome thing to go over. Very cool. I am looking forward to the next one, and I'm looking forward to everyone's questions, answers on polls, and their answers to our question of the pod. It's been amazing, and I guess see you guys next one. Bye.
Sorry, I don't know who's going.
Bye,
See
guys.
you later.